This is TrueGrit.
Alright guys, the archery series, video number 8. We have our cables and string on, and now we're gonna reset the bow as close as possible, almost perfectly to factory specs. Specifically, we're gonna start synchronizing the cams first of all, then go through the brace height, draw length, axle to axle, draw weight, tiller distance, string suppressor setting, and yoke tuning. Follow each step carefully as usual, so you don't waste time and you don't risk damaging your bow. And let's start. You always start by synchronizing the cams. You don't want to go through the factory specs with cams that are not at least fairly synchronized. Otherwise, later on, when you go synchronize the cams, you will throw off the factory specs again. So let's put the bow on the draw board. We don't have a D-loop yet, so just put a piece of paracord more or less in front of your arrow rest. It doesn't have to be accurate. Remember that the cams are slaved to each other, so they'll all rotate together. Connect the paracord to your draw weight scale, and then slowly pull the bow all the way up until one of the stops, one of the draw stops, either top or bottom cam, hit its cable. In this case, we ended up with the bottom draw stop peg hitting the cable and the top draw stop peg way off the cable. This is a very extreme situation. You won't end up like this ever, changing the strings. I just removed all the twists from the bus cable to show you that even if you lose twists on your string or cables, it is so easy to reset them and you don't have to worry about it at all. While the bow is fully drawn, let's also have a look at the draw weight just to check more or less where we are at. And remember, we set the bow when we put the limbs back together after cleaning and lubricating the cams. We cranked up the limbs bolts all the way down, and then we released 4 full turns on each limb. So now for this kind of bow, 4 full turns out, it's the minimum draw weight. Even if the bow has got a total of 8 full turns on the both limbs, you're supposed to work between fully cranked and 4 out. So 4 out is supposed to be about 60, the minimum draw weight of this bow, and fully cranked is supposed to be 70, and we're gonna check it later on in this video. For now, we are about 59 pound draw weight, which is fairly good, and as said, we fix the cam timing first, and then we start checking the specs. So don't touch the draw weight, don't touch the limbs bolts. Just remove the bow from the draw board and put it in the press, and we'll adjust the twists on the cables. As said in the previous videos, you always need your adjusting reference board while you're working and your bow manual. Remember that basically all the information you need to tune your bow are on your bow manual. You just need to look for them and read them. The manual specifies that the cams are slaved to each other, so advancing one will retard the other and vice versa. And it's also going to give you a detailed description on how to do it. Of course, it's more practical to keep all the information on our reference table, and that's what we're going to do. Our bottom cam was early on the stop, so we need to retard it. And our top cam was late on the stop, so we need to advance it. And our draw weight was just slightly low, so we need to increase it a little. To advance the top cam and therefore retard the bottom cam, we have two options. We can either twist the bus cable or untwist the control cable. Now we'll twist the bus cable because that will also increase a little bit the draw weight, while untwisting the control cable will lower it, and we don't need that. And also, if you look at the cables, you'll see that the control cable, it's very little twisted, so you don't want to remove more twists, while the bus cable, it's also very little twisted, so it is good to add some twist on it. Now the top cam was very late, so we're gonna add 5 full twists to the bus cable, which is usually a lot. You don't adjust that much, and then we're gonna recheck. If the cams are synchronized, leave it like that. If the bottom cam is still early, add another twist or two. If in case the top cam now is too early instead of being late, remove a twist or two up until they just touch the wall together. Release the pressure on your press, remove the bow, put it back on the draw board. Always turn on the scale and draw the bow up until one of the stops hit the cable. Bottom draw stop is touching his cable and top draw stop is touching his cable. Perfect. And the draw weight is 61, little high, but leave it like that for the moment. And cam synchronization is done. Now we need to set the bow at the maximum draw weight because the factory specs are released by the manufacturer at maximum draw weight. So we need to crank up all the way the limb bolts top and bottom. Remember, don't squeeze them, screw them in all the way and then turn them back just slide it a little bit. Put the bow back on the draw board, connect it to the scale, turn on the scale and full drawn up until one of the stop touches as usual. And let's go check what the situation is. We have the bottom cam still a little bit too early, needs to be retarded, and the top cam a little bit late, needs to be advanced. 68 draw weight, it's too little, it's gotta be 70. Draw length is 28.5, it's a little bit too much, it's gotta be 28. Remember that whatever draw length you measure from the pivot point of the handle to the string, you need to add 1 inch and 3/4 to have the actual draw length. So now, considering that we need to add a couple of pounds of draw weight to go to factory specs, even 2.5 pounds, because we want to stay a little high, we want to get to 70.5 pounds, considering that then the new strings are gonna relax a little bit and we're gonna lose probably 0.5 pound. So that's how we're gonna proceed. We're gonna add a twist to the control cable to increase a little bit the poundage, but that's gonna work against our cam synchronization because it's gonna retard the top cam that we need to advance. So then the bus cable, we're gonna add 2 twists, one to compensate for the twist on the control cable and another one to advance the top cam as much as we need. And this way we gained 1 twist on the control cable and 2 on the bus cable, 3 twists of a poundage increase. So back to the bow press, 1 twist on the control cable, remove it for the peg, 1 twist, put it back inside, and 2 twists on the bus cable, remove it from the peg, 1, 2 twist, put it back inside. And we end up with the bottom cam and top cam stop barely touching perfectly at the same time, and as we wanted, 70.5 pound of draw weight. Draw length is still a little bit too long, but let's leave it like this for the moment. It's a matter of 1/4 inch. We'll fine tune it when we have a D-loop on, which is more accurate. We're ready to check our factory specs. Let's go back to our bow manual. We can see that our brace height is going to be 6 3/4. Our axle to axle distance is going to be 30 1/4. And of course our draw length is going to be 28. The bow is fairly tuned already. Cams are synchronized. Draw weight is about that. So you'll see that the factory specs are going to be matched almost perfectly, and there's going to be very little adjustment to do. Let's check first our brace height, which is the distance between the pivot point of the handle of the bow and the string. Let's put the bow on the bow vise, get a measure tape and measure from the pivot point of the handle to the string, and is exactly 6 3/4. Let's go to the axle to axle distance, which is the distance between the axle of the bottom cam and the axle of the top cam. And as you can see, it's exactly 30 1/4 as it has to be. Let's now check the tiller distance, which is the distance between each limb pocket and the string. It doesn't have a specific measure, but it has to be the same on top and bottom limb. We have 12 3/4 on the top limb, and on the bottom limb 12 3/4 as well, which is perfect. Let's adjust the string suppressor, which is gonna barely touch the string. without no pressure. It doesn't have to have any distance from the string at rest, but it doesn't have to push on it. So let's remove it, clean it with the silicone lubricant, put silicone lubricant in its hole, blow up the excessive lubricant, put it back, align it with the string, put it barely touching the string with no pressure, and let's refix it with this hexagonal key. Then let's clean up all the lubricant, silicone lubricant spread around, and let's move to the yoke alignment. Now this bow is got a split yoke only on the bus cable, so you're going to need to align only the top cam. Some bows they have both split, also the control cable is split in two, so you'll need to align also the bottom cam. Anyway, you need to do this, you need to perform this operation of full draw. So put the bow back on the draw board, fully draw the bow, get an arrow shaft and hold it perfectly flat against the part of the cam that doesn't have the module. This way the arrow will tell you the direction in which the cam is leaning, and you can check if it's aligned with the string. In our case, the cam is leaning upwards, and as you can see, the arrow shaft is going across the string and above it, from the bottom to the top. Looking at the bow up straight, the cam is leaning towards the inside on the side without the modules. So that side needs to go out. We're gonna release a twist on the side, on that side of the yoke where we don't have modules, and on the other side, the yoke on the module side, we're gonna add a twist to pull it down. Considering that the bow is already a factory specs, always add from one side and remove from the other side at the same amount all the times you can, so you don't change too much the length of the bus cable, because you take from one side and you give from the other, and you don't mess up the factory specs, which you don't want to do. Only at the end, if you need half a twist for the fine tuning, which is not needed at this point, we'll do it when we fine tune the bow, you can remove half a twist only on one side or add half a twist only on one side. Back to our press, give it a little pressure, remove the yoke cable on the module side and add a twist, remove the yoke cable on the opposite side and release a twist, untwist. Back to the draw board, fully draw the bow, put back the arrow in perfect contact to the cam and check the leaning again. As you can see, right now the arrow is running fairly aligned with the string, and that's enough. So cam leaning is adjusted and done. Reset the bow to your desired draw weight by releasing top and bottom limb bolts by the same exact number of twists. Bow is reset to factory spec. As you saw during the video, I messed up this bow pretty heavily just to show you that it doesn't matter. If you know what you're doing, you'll reset it to factory specs with no difficulties. In the next videos, we'll put up a D-loop, a pip sight, a sight, and we'll go through all the shoot tuning of the bow, which is very interesting. So stay tuned, and please guys, if you like the videos, put a like, but most importantly, help the channel by subscribing.